Hey everyone, got a couple of motorcycle gloves to compare for you today. I haven't seen many user reviews on either of these gloves, so I thought that maybe this video might help some of you that are in the market and might be considering either of these as options just like I am. The two gloves I have on the table today are both by REV'IT. I have the Cayenne 2 here in black, and I have the RSR 4 in, I believe the color is black and anthracite. It's kind of a two-tone thing here. A little bit of background on how I arrived at these specifically. I was looking for a good year-round glove. I live in Southern California and we never really get a true winter, so gloves that would work in a temperature range between, let's say, 50 and 80 degrees. I wasn't looking at anything mesh, primarily just goat or cowhide, maybe some perforations to help with some breathability. My next big criteria was that I wanted a good balance between being relatively low profile while still offering adequate protection. I liked the appeal of a full gauntlet like this, but I didn't want anything too bulky to compromise ergonomics or to get cumbersome while riding. Similarly, I didn't want a typical short cuff for that lack of protection in the transition area between your jacket and your glove. And finally, I wanted a hard palm slider. That was one of my requirements, is that whatever glove I end up buying, it's gonna have a hard palm slider. I don't want just a pad. I want something TPU that's actually gonna slide in that area. So if you take all those criteria and do some searching on the internet, you'll find that there aren't that many options that are sub $150, which was my target price range. But I did find these two gloves, which fit into each of those two categories I was looking for pretty well, which is a low profile gauntlet and kind of a mid cuff rather than a traditional short cuff glove. So now that I have that background out of the way, I can get into some different features of each glove, and I've broken this down into price, protection, fit, and feel. Starting off with price because it's easy. Cayenne's coming in at $159.99, and this is the Cayenne 2. The current Cayenne is the Cayenne 2, but for the duration of this video, I'm just going to call it the Cayenne. The RSR 4 I have at $149.99, so there's a $10 price difference, which makes this a pretty apples to apples comparison. I guess we'll just go from left to right and put them on and talk about them, and then go from there. So protection-wise, will be the first section we talk about. Protection-wise, both of these are going to be pretty similar. Both being by REV'IT and being in similar price tiers, they're going to have very similar features. So let's get this on. I guess we can go from the top down, starting on the back of the hand. You have some foam finger protection here on the backs of your fingers, at least for these 3 digits here. You also have it on your thumb, none on the pinky on the back. Coming down here, we have some accordion for flexibility, not on the pinky there, but I don't feel like that's an issue at all. Some perforations on the back of the knuckle for breathability. Then we both have on both of these, we're gonna have a hard TPU knuckle protector here, which lines up well, doesn't feel, there's no hot spots for me. It lines up well, and when I make a fist, it doesn't present any issues there. Continuing further down, we have some more accordion leather here for additional flexibility, as well as a strip of textile right here, which I'm gonna assume is for breathability as well as flexibility here when you're moving your wrist. Nothing down here on the back. If we turn our hands to the side here, you can see we do have a bit of foam padding on the back of the thumb here as well, some more accordion. Turning over again to the middle here, going from the fingers down. This, I believe, is touchscreen compatibility for your phone. I don't believe it is on the thumb. I think it is only on the index finger. Something to notice on this one is that there is no palm reinforcement. It's just a single layer of material on the palm with some extra stitching. It doesn't actually have some reinforcement on the palm. So continuing down the palm, we do have some extra foam padding here on the base of your thumb, as well as your hard TPU slider right here. You have your wrist strap here, as well as your gauntlet Velcro closure here. Continuing on, if I rotate my hand even more, we do have a hard TPU kind of slider on the base of your pinky here, as well as some, I believe is, what is that, double layer or triple layer? It's an extra layer of leather stitched on top of your pinky for abrasion resistance, as well as all of this section down here on your palm is going to be an extra layer of leather for abrasion resistance with your palm slider. And then as well as on the opposite side, I believe this is the ulna side of your forearm, you're gonna have an extra foam pad here. And that's one of the key differences you're gonna see with a full gauntlet style glove versus a short cleft glove, is it's gonna offer this kind of protection here if you do go down this way. It's gonna give you something, let's say your elbow and forearm pads on your jacket end at about mid forearm. It's gonna give you something in that intermediary area between mid forearm and your glove. You're not just gonna be sliding, your sleeve's not gonna ride up, and it's not gonna just drag on the asphalt. You have some kind of impact protection here. I believe all the features there are covered. Let's go ahead and pull this one off and throw the Cayenne on. Talk about that one. They are gonna be super similar, so you'll see once I throw that one on that from the palm side up, they look almost exactly the same. So let's go ahead and get that loosened up. And these are brand new, so bear with me as I'm putting them on and off. There we go. Go ahead and strap that down. All right, so let's do the exact same thing from the other side. Starting on the back here, we do have some hard TPU knuckle protection on the backs of your fingers. Again, nothing on the pinky, just on these 3 digits here we have hard protection, whereas here it was just pads. Here we actually have some hard protection. Again, accordion stretch here, hard TPU knuckle protection there, as well as some extra TPU protection at the base of your hand, kind of closer to your wrist bone back here. That's something that's on this one, but not on this one, just a distinction. Again, no hot spots. I don't feel like any of this protection is digging in anywhere. The backs of the knuckles are fine. The articulation on the fingers is fine with this. This isn't digging in anywhere. Neither is this one on the back of the hand. Similar to this one, you have this strip of textile right here. You do have a sort of mesh vent under this flap right here with some textile material. I'm assuming that's gonna let some air that's coming in through these perforations come out the back of your hand and hopefully give it some better airflow. Coming down to the back here, these are some rubber. I wouldn't say this is for abrasion resistance. I'm not sure if it's an aesthetic thing, but there's some rubber here that's, I guess, kind of protective. But let's see, turning the glove here on the side, we do have a hard slider here on the top of the thumb, whereas here we just had the soft pad. Here we actually have a hard slider there. Perforation going all along the side of the glove. Coming down here, anything to note? Flipping here, we have a much larger foam pad on the thumb relative to the one on the RSR 4. Was this one right here? Here it's actually pretty substantial. And we do have palm reinforcement going across the 3 digits here up onto your index finger and down onto your thumb. This one, I don't remember specifically if it has touchscreen compatibility. I know it doesn't have the little patch for it, so I'm gonna assume no, but feel free to refer online to whatever website you want to see if that's actually a feature or not. Otherwise, we got some perforation here coming down the fingers. Less perforation on the fingers, but we do have more perforation on the palm relative to this one. And then coming over here, we do have, this is similar rubber to what's on the back right here. Over here on the pinky, I would say that the one on the RSR 4 is substantially harder material. It feels more like the TPU that you find on here, whereas this just seems like rubber. I'm not sure if this would actually slide or if it would just rip off. Regardless, it's kind of nice to see at least something instead of just leather, but I probably would have preferred something more like this. Again, this is gonna be reinforced with an additional layer of leather going up the pinky down onto the palm. Something to notice here is that you have this little gap in between where you have reinforced and pad here, reinforced and a palm slider here, whereas here you had an entire patch that kind of went across. It was one solid piece. So I don't think it offers any sort of difference in protection. It's just something to note aesthetically, I guess. From there, we do have a small bit of protection on this side, similar to what you find on the gauntlet. It's just scaled way down because the cuff is a lot smaller, but there is a little bit of something right here. This is definitely, it's a longer cuff than a traditional short cuff, and that's probably because it's an ADV glove. but that was one of the appeals to me, is that it didn't just end right here. It did give me at least some protection that went down onto my my wrist. Granted, I will be wearing a jacket with this, but just something to consider. I'm trying to think if there's anything that's missing. Velcro closures on both of these. I will say that I think that the one on the Cayenne feels more robust. The Velcro itself, like the strength of both of them is great. I was actually concerned that gloves in this price point, and by this price point, I mean anything like around $100 or between $100 and $150. A lot of people complain that like the Velcro wears out really quickly or doesn't grab very well, and that you got to kind of go up a tier in order to get any sort of better Velcro. These are really good. I don't have any issue with there just being this one attachment point, whereas here you have the two. You have the one around the wrist and you have the one around the gauntlet. Both of them feel very secure. The Cayenne, you can really crank down. I think that's just the nature of the closure mechanism here, is that you have this strap and this strap that continue on to here, and you can really crank them down after pulling the loop through this eye. Just, it feels super tight and secure around your wrist, which if you're trying to wear this over a jacket, maybe something that's like a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner, that you can tuck under this and crank down, it's going to give you that feeling of like security. Your jacket's not going to come out. The wind's not going to pull it out or anything from under there. Or if you just like something that's like a really tight fit, this one you can really crank down. Whereas this, it's nice having the wrist security and the gauntlet. But what I found is that the gauntlet on the RSR 4, it's kind of difficult to get close to your forearm. It doesn't really cinch down that well. Here, I'm gonna try to put it on for you guys again, just so you can see what I'm talking about. If we go back over here. Again, these are brand new, so bear with me. Just the nature of this gauntlet right here, when you close it, to get any sort of close or tight fit, you're gonna have to fold this material over on itself. So it's gonna have to pinch and roll, kind of like this. You guys can see that very well. It's gonna pinch and roll over on itself. And that's kind of difficult to get the material to do, especially when you're wearing another glove. Like if this was a gloved hand already, trying to, let's say, put this on over my jacket and then try to get this to bend and get a nice tight fit, I feel like I would struggle to actually get this as tight and secure as I would want, whereas this, you wouldn't have that problem because you can really just crank it down. That being said, I think that's just the nature of the beast when you're dealing with a gauntlet glove like this, is it's not going to be fitting as tight because it's not cinching how this one does. It's kind of just, I guess, tightening it just a bit to keep it from flapping around, but still feeling secure. I think I don't have a problem with either of them. It's just some key differences to note between the two. I think that's it for protection and features between these two. As far as fit and sizing goes, I'm one of those unfortunate people that's in between sizes. So according to the REV'IT size chart, I'm right in between a medium and a large. So I've ordered these both in a large and will be sending them both back, unfortunately, because they're just a bit big for my preferences. So if you can try these on in person, I'd recommend doing so, obviously. But if you can't, I think it would be safe to size down, assuming you have a typical hand shape. Like if you know you have short fingers or you know you have a larger palm than average, then I would just choose your size according to those. But generally, I would say these run true to size, and I'm just a little bit picky and happen to be between sizes. As for fit, I mentioned before that the Cayenne feels more robust as a glove. And I think part of that might be that the size large in the Cayenne fits a little closer to my skin than the RSR 4 does. Now that could be because the material's a bit thicker in areas, so it fills more of that space, or maybe it's just a tighter fitting glove in a size large than this one is. One other thing I noticed on the Cayenne was that for me personally, the pinky was a bit long, but all the other fingers fit pretty well. Whereas on the RSR 4, the glove feels the same on each finger. Like I can tell that each finger is just a little bit big and the glove itself is just generally like the same amount roomy everywhere. So yeah, as I said before, the hope is that sizing down will create a good uniform fit for all of the fingers and the palm. Whereas this one, I thought it was kind of interesting that all of the other fingers felt good, but just the pinky was a little bit long. Getting the gloves on and off, I think the RSR4 is easier. I think that because the material is more flexible, and the double closure like allows the glove to open up a bit more when you undo this Velcro and this Velcro and actually open it all up. I think it allows the glove to open up a bit more, and it's easier to get your hand in and out of the glove. That being said, I don't think that this one's hard to get into. It's just something to note between the two. Dexterity wise, I think both gloves have a great range of motion for the protection that they provide. I can move each finger easily in both and don't actually feel compromised anywhere. Again, if I had to pick, I would say that the RSR4 gives a tiny bit more range of motion and feel because of the thinner material. The cuffs on both gloves feel secure. As I said before, I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing before I move on to the next section. No, I think that's about it. So let's go into feel. So the feel of these two gloves, I do think the RSR4 has the advantage here in the feel department. That just comes with having a thinner palm, I would say. So the palm feels really nice, and I think that the way the glove feels holding onto the bar lets you be a little bit more precise. Again, these are the tiniest differences. Just because one's marginally better doesn't mean the Cayenne is some big chunky glove with bad feel. I will say that the Cayenne does feel more premium. Like if you handed me these, I would have thought the price difference would have been more than $10. That could be just the natural response we have when something's heavier and more substantial, that it just feels higher quality. But it was something that I noticed for sure when I first grabbed these both, is that, oh, this one, it feels more, I don't want to say worth the price, because I do think these are both worth the price. It just feels like you're getting something very protective with the Cayenne, even though it is a shorter cuff design. I think that wraps up the 4 sections. So just getting into a general conclusion on the both of these, I think each glove is going to be great for its own application. Honestly, at this point, I don't think I have my mind made up. I'll probably end up exchanging both of these for mediums and then making my decision based on like the final fit in size medium. What I will do though is I'll give you some final thoughts and opinions on each one. As I said before, the Cayenne feels sturdy. Like going down with this glove, I think I'd be very confident. It's a little bit chunkier than I was looking for initially, but I do like it aesthetically. It's got some robust knuckle protection and this extra protection on the back of the hand down here. I thought I wasn't going to be a fan of it, but I actually do really like it. I think it's just, it's not intrusive. It doesn't feel like it affects my mobility at all, but it's just nice having it. I like the RSR4. I like how low profile it is and the protection that it provides, even though it is pretty low profile and slim. It is the more comfortable of the two, I would say, but only by a little bit. And that's probably just because of the thinner material throughout. I think I would be leaning more towards the RSR4 specifically for my riding. The only thing that's holding me back is the palm. I'm not sure if I'm settled on the idea of not having a reinforced palm like this one. That's something I'm going to have to debate with myself a little bit for longer. Because I think if this did have a reinforced palm, I'd pick it without a question, because it has everything I'm looking for. It has more coverage. It has this protection on the outside of the forearm. It has adequate protection everywhere else. It's nice and comfortable. Has the touchscreen compatibility, hard palm slider, fits well. There's really no issues there, but this does just feel, the Cayenne does just feel more substantial. Like I wouldn't be surprised if, even though this glove has a lot more material in gauntlet, like this is a heavier feeling glove. It just feels more premium. So hopefully that helps you guys kind of get a sense of how these compare to each other. And if you're in the market for either one, hopefully it helps you make a decision. I really don't think you can go wrong with either. I think these are both going to provide substantially more protection than some of the other short cuff mesh gloves out there. And I think it may just come down to aesthetics for most people. I think if you buy whichever one you like the look of more, that you'll win, because honestly, these are both winners. The differences in reality are small enough that you'd be happy choosing either one. So you really can't go wrong here. It just comes down to personal preferences and maybe your riding style. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for your time if you made it this far. And yeah, let me know what gloves you like, or if you have any direct experience with either of these as well. I'm always open to hearing about maybe some things that I didn't notice, or some pain points that you guys might have who have actually used these. But yeah, thank you. Catch you on the next one.